So speaking of Wilson Fisk, common villain for Wilson or common enemy of Wilson Fisk is Daredevil. Recently, Charlie Cox stated he saw the rumors around everyone thinking his forearms were his hairy forearms in that Spider-Man scene where it was him. But people dissected the scene earlier, and the guy has a belly, which is not Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox is ripped. The guy's got a belly, and it doesn't appear to be him. I don't understand why Daredevil would slam the thing down, or Matt Murdock would slam that down.
The theory that I saw was that he's blind, so he didn't realize where the table was, and I thought that was dumb.
Yeah, and then but Charlie Cox stated those are not my forearms.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, yeah, they're Matt Murdock's forearms. No, I don't think that is.
It's
Matt
not
Murdock.
him. No, if anything, he might be in the same room, but that's not him.
But everyone else is also saying he didn't say he's not in the movie.
That's true. He did.
So, and then he recently stated, I get a lot of anxiety when talking about this.
It gave him anxiety to get asked about that. Just anything to deal with, like whether or not he's going to be in future MCU projects. And it's not really like fair to ask him these questions, and I totally agree with him, because if he says those are his forearms, he gets in trouble with Marvel and Disney and stuff for leaking information. And then like look at Tom Holland is still made fun of.
Yeah, Bruce or Mark Ruffalo is too.
And Mark Ruffalo. So Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland are still made fun of for leaking. If he says those aren't, like he's not, if he says I'm not in the movie, then people get mad at him for spoiling it, and then they're mad at him for not being in the movie, even though it's not like his choice.
Right.
And then if he says no comment, like I don't want to answer that question, people say he's an asshole because, oh, why don't you just say it? Like it's not a big deal. It's like it is a lose situation in that.
Yeah.
Like it is amazing for the interviewer. Like they can ask him a question that he has no escape from.
Yeah. And I think like arguably, I think in the back of our minds, we're expecting the other two Spider-Men to show up at some point.
Like
that's gonna be a shock. It's gonna be it's gonna be a shock. It's gonna be sweet. But like I'm gonna get just as giddy if I see just him. He doesn't need to be Daredevil. He doesn't need to be Daredevil.
Nope.
He needs to be Matt Murdock.
Yeah.
Like he needs to walk into a courtroom with like
a cane or walking stick.
Yeah, and that would give me chills. Like
right. He doesn't even have to wear the Daredevil suit. They could redo his suit.
Like yeah, and just with the way he is as a lawyer, if he was interviewing or if he was talking to Peter Parker, he'd be like, you could hear him say he would just be like, Peter Parker, stop talking. Like if they were in the courtroom, he would be like, Peter Parker, stop talking.
You're
just
right.
tell him that, and then Peter would be like, oh, like so.
Overall, I think it's unfair to ask Charlie Cox.
Yeah, and he's just going to get slammed with questions for the next 3 months.
So I'm glad he kind of made that statement. I do hope he's in the movie, but I don't think we should be asking him these questions. Any actor, or like we shouldn't be asking any of them. Like it's a lose situation, and if I'm them, I don't want to do interviews with those people anymore. I'm like, why? It's like asking somebody a personal question, like, hey, before we do this interview, please keep this off the table, and then they ask it anyway.
Yeah,
like with Adam Driver, that happened in that radio show, and then he walked out, and people got really mad at him. It's like, no, he told you don't talk about this, and they did.
Yeah.
So like, let's just be good to the talent. They act like just come on.
So another thing, making fun of Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo for spoiling things. Someone was in wherever they're shooting Moon Knight. They saw Oscar Isaac outside of a hotel, right? So they're like, oh, can I get a picture or whatever? And this girl took a picture of Oscar Isaac. And not like an hour later, Mark Ruffalo came walking by into that same hotel. So they got a picture with Mark Ruffalo too. And so then they asked him, they're like, wow, you're at the same place they're filming Moon Knight? Like, what are you doing there? And he's like, you know what? I'm sick of like spoiling things, so I'm not going to say anything.
I saw that too.
Like, could Hulk be in Moon Knight? Sure.
Yeah.
Could he be there supporting Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke? Also sure. So
could he be there for something completely unrelated? Also, sure. Could he be there as a consultant and have nothing to do with the movie? Also could. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, they could be involved in so many things. Like, when Jon Favreau is somewhere, they're not assuming he's acting. They're assuming he's oh, are you a producer credit on this? Like, I think it's unfair. The way that people, like, I get that they're making millionaires and they're like,
and like they have to do publicity at some point, right? So you have to interview Mark Ruffalo before, or you have, like, say Shang-Chi, you have to interview Simu Liu before this. You're not, like, you don't just sit there and hound them with questions that are spoil the movie. That's stupid. You know? Right. That's stupid.
You ask them about maybe their creative process. You maybe ask them about previous projects that they've done and how it compares to being in something like the MCU. Yeah. Like, how does it feel? You, as an actor, your goal is to be in a memorable role that people will always think of when they think of this character. When you're entering the MCU, even when you're not a main character, people are always going to remember you for this. How does that feel?
Yeah. And, like, especially with Simu Liu, like, he wanted to be Shang-Chi too. So,
but now Awkwafina, like, she's Nora from Queens. She has her old YouTube series. Right. But now after Shang-Chi comes out, especially if it's a massive hit, a lot of the time when you hear Awkwafina, you're going to think
Katie from Shang-Chi.
You're going to think Shang-Chi and Raya the Last Dragon. Like, you can ask her, like, you worked with Disney now a couple times. What is more intense to you, being an animated dragon or being in a live action character where you play a character you've played in other things, but now when people see you, they're gonna be like, hey, these are the questions that you can ask. It's still entertaining for the viewer, but now you're not pissing off the actor. Like, if I feel Charlie Cox, I would much rather interview
we will interview you and ask you nothing about the MCU. We will ask you about your Daredevil series, and working with Vincent D'Onofrio, working with Finn Jones,
right? Well, that's another thing. Like, we could say that, like, we're not going to allow you to we are not going to tell you to badmouth a previous person you've worked with, but it's been told by people that have worked on the movie or on the show that Finn Jones refused to put in extra time and extra work to become his character Iron Fist. And
but like that, it was good in Defenders. Like, he was good in the Defenders thing when he was surrounded by people. Like, maybe he got carried by Charlie Cox,
as opposed to Vincent D'Onofrio, who
stole the show when he was
people. Every movie he's been in, Jurassic World, apparently people that worked with him said that he was actually, like, hateable. You could genuinely hate his character because of how well he was playing them. And Law and Order, Criminal Intent, people said that he was uncomfortable to be around sometimes because
how was it
into his character so well.
How was it working with John Bernthal? Is he as intense as he is? Like,
right, you've dealt with such a wide variety of actors. What's that like? Like, I feel like that's an entertaining question as opposed to, hey, those your forearms. Yeah. I just hate that, and I feel like the interviewer should have done more work.